Right now, a dog is lying on a couch somewhere, staring blankly at a wall. If you asked its owner what it was thinking about, they would probably say nothing, or maybe squirrels. But it is worth considering the alternative, that behind those eyes, something is looking back. On some level, that dog might know it exists, or perhaps more unsettlingly, it might not. In 1970, psychologist Gordon Gallup Jr. created the mirror test, a method that science still treats as the benchmark for animal self-awareness. Researchers place a small mark on an unconscious animal, a dot of paint or a sticker, where it can only see it in a reflection. When the animal wakes up, it is placed in front of a mirror to see if it investigates the mark on itself. For decades, this visual test served as a binary dividing line. It separated the creatures we believed possessed an inner self from those we assumed were empty inside. Chimpanzees, orangutans, dolphins, and elephants passed this test. Even the Eurasian magpie, with a thumb-sized brain, recognizes its own reflection. Most other mammals fail, including dogs, cats, and human babies under 2 years old. But the mirror test relies entirely on sight, while species like dogs live in a world built on scent. Asking a dog to recognize itself in a mirror is essentially asking a human to identify themselves from a recording of their own heartbeat. In 2017, researcher Alexandra Horowitz modified the experiment using scent instead of sight. When presented with their own altered urine, dogs spent significantly more time investigating it. They noticed a change in their own olfactory identity. The results suggest that our baseline for judging animal intelligence has been skewed. We haven't been measuring their lack of awareness, but rather the limitations of our own testing methods. Knowing who you are is different from knowing that you are. This is metacognition, the ability to zoom out and observe your own thinking process from the outside. In 2007, researchers at the University of Georgia tested this ability in rhesus monkeys through a memory experiment. The monkeys were given a choice: take a hard test for a large reward, or an easy test for a small one. They consistently chose the easier questions when they were uncertain of the answer, and the harder ones when they felt confident. Rats have shown similar behavior, opting out of tests they haven't prepared for. Dolphins have been observed hesitating before answering, a physical reflection of human-like uncertainty. These species appear to maintain internal models of their own minds. They evaluate their own knowledge states before deciding how to interact with the world. While we can measure behavior, we still cannot reach what philosophers call qualia, the raw subjective feeling of what it is like to be you right now. Thomas Nagel famously explored this barrier in 1974 with his paper, "What is it like to be a bat?" Bats experience the world through sound reflections. No matter how closely we study their biology, the inner experience of navigating through echolocation remains inaccessible to us. Modern science is attempting to bridge this gap. In 2012, a group of neuroscientists signed the Cambridge Declaration on Consciousness. Primatologist Franz de Waal points out that evolution rarely invents complex traits from scratch. Humans and other mammals share the same neurological substrates required for conscious states. Consciousness likely exists on a spectrum, which means we are not at one end of a line and every other animal at the other. We are all somewhere along the same biological path. Some of the most compelling evidence for animal consciousness comes from behaviors that seem to serve no evolutionary purpose at all. In 2018, a killer whale named Tahlequah lost her calf shortly after it was born. For 17 days, Tahlequah carried the body of her dead calf on her head as she swam across 1,000 miles of ocean. The members of her pod took turns helping her when she grew tired. Scientists struggled to find a behavioral explanation for this tour of grief. It provided no advantage for survival or feeding. It looked like the behavior of a creature that knew something existed, and now didn't. In 1966, a chimpanzee named Washoe became the first non-human to learn American Sign Language. She eventually mastered over 350 signs. One day, a researcher who had been absent for months returned to visit. When Washoe saw her, she signed the word for cry and then pointed at the researcher's eyes. She wanted to know why the human wasn't as moved by the reunion as she was. In that moment, Washoe wasn't just demonstrating her own awareness. She was evaluating the emotional state of another. If animals do exist in a meaningful sense, if they feel and mourn and know themselves, then the way we treat them becomes a historical error. We have been getting their nature wrong for as long as we've been studying them. simply because we couldn't ask them who they were.